Well, good evening. My name's Pastor David Brown, and I am just kidding. Pastor and his wife are actually out of town on vacation. I think it's their first one in like 127 years or something like that. And so I am Taylor. I'm one of the pastors here, and I'm getting the privilege to share with you. Pastor asked me last week, would you mind getting up and talking to this wonderful group of people? And I said it would be an honor. He has so much love and so much appreciation for all of you. He's probably logging in right now, watching Facebook Live. He's praying for you. Even while on vacation, he's thinking about you. He loves you guys so much. It's an honor for me to be here tonight and share with you. I believe with all of my heart that tonight will be a night where it's not going to be like this great Bible teaching, but it's going to be a night that you're going to be inspired. It's going to be a night that you're going to be encouraged. You're going to look back in a week or so and say, something shifted on Wednesday night in my heart. That's my prayer for this evening. There was a lumberjack one time who he got paid to go out and chop down trees, but he didn't have a chainsaw. He would use an axe that had the old blade on it, and he would go out there and he would get paid $30 per tree he would cut down. And every day he would cut down about 10 trees or so. And he loved what he did. Well, he came into work one day and his boss said, hey, I got a thing I want you to try. And instead of using your axe, I want you to use this one. It doesn't have a blade on it, but I'm going to pay you $10,000 for every tree you cut down. And he thought about that for a second, and he's like, that's way better than $30 a tree, so I'll do it. And he went out there, and he started banging on that tree. He was hitting that log. He was using it to try to saw. He was doing everything imaginable to use this handle that didn't have an axe to cut the tree. And after 3 or 4 hours, he went back to his boss and said, you know what? This isn't working. Like, there's no blade on it. This just isn't working. And he said, whenever I swing an axe, whenever that axe hits the tree, I've got to see the chips fly. When it comes to our walk with God, we've got to learn to see the chips fly. We've got to get ourselves to a place whenever we see the power of God demonstrated in our lives. We want to see the chips fly. We want to see the healings break forth. We want to see the power of God demonstrated. We want to see a wave of God and a revival break forth because we don't want to just keep swinging and not getting any results. We want to swing and see the chips fly. We want to sing and see the presence of God move each and every day. But how? How do we see the chips fly? How do we get to a place in our lives where we see the chips fly? I'm glad you all came because I'm about to tell you how. You guys want to learn how to see the chips fly? Is the title up there of the message? No? Okay. Tonight, to learn how to see the chips fly, we've got to learn how to rekindle our passion for God. Because at some point in our lives, all of us at some point have said, it didn't work out the way I thought it was going to. And we gave up. We prayed for something. God, we need you to move. And it didn't happen the way we thought it was going to. We lose our passion. Things don't tend to motivate us when we don't see the chips flying. I grew up in church. I have a rich heritage of being involved in the local church. My parents were pastors. My grandparents were actually up until like their 80s, mid-80s. They were the worship pastors at their vacation place in Red River, New Mexico. They would go out to this place they called the community center, and there was a church, and they would lead the worship out there. So the church life is something that I'm very accustomed to. It's something I'm very fortunate to have been raised in and been a part of. But through all that, having parents that were pastors, I didn't grow up normal. I grew up, whenever I came home from school, my mom was a piano player. You know what she was doing? Worshiping God. I would come home from school and be like, hey, we did all this, and she would be worshiping God. I would walk by my dad's office, and when I was really young, his office was downstairs in the basement. I would walk out and just walk by his office door, and what was he doing in there? He was praying, saying, God, move in my life, move in my family, move in our church. God, make me passionate for you. Do something in me that you've not done in anybody else. I grew up thinking that that was normal. My parents were the kind of people, actually my mom was, whenever we would go on vacation, she was praying for everything. Do you do that? We're going to go on vacation. She prays for the steering wheel. She prays for the tires. She's praying that other people get in a wreck. She's not caring about us. She's praying for everybody else. Let them get in a wreck. God save us. We don't want to get in a wreck. Don't even act like you don't know people that do that. Don't even act like it. I know the truth. But I grew up with this rich heritage of people who sought after God. They were the kind of people that whenever they prayed, you knew what they prayed was going to happen. Something was different. Some of you may have moms, grandmas, fathers, who knows, that whenever they pray, you know something's different. Whenever they pray, they mean business. You know, like, don't get on their bad side because they'll pray about it and you're a goner. You think I come home from school, I was never in trouble because I knew God told my mom before I got home. I knew I had to keep myself going down the straight and narrow because they were people who sought after God. And because of that, they had a passion for God. And because they were people who sought after God, because they were passionate for God, it instilled a passion on the inside of me. It began to birth something on the inside of me. You see, they knew long before I did the importance of being passionate. I didn't realize it till I was older, but because of their passion for God, it created a passion in me. I didn't know. I just thought that was normal. But what happens is they sought after God. And the more they sought after God, the more it began to do in my life because I was around them. I was kind of by osmosis. You kind of did that in school. Like, I'm going to study for this test by osmosis. Just kind of get around the book and you'll be all right. Anybody do that? Yep. Okay. Maybe I was the only one. 9 years to graduate, 4-year college. Anybody else? Yeah! That was me. But let's just be honest with each other. We got to be raw. This is church. This isn't a place where we can put on your happy religion face. This is a place where we just say, hey, this is who I am. We've lost passion. I've lost passion. There's been seasons in my life where it seemed that God was nowhere near. God did not exist in that time, and I couldn't figure out why. I found out as I got older, as things progressed, that it was me who was separating myself from God. God was never separating. He was actually trying to draw near to me, but because of my mind, because of what was going on in the situation, the circumstance, I began to pull away. I began to separate myself from God, and it caused me to lose my passion. It caused me to no longer be excited about what God has called me to do. So tonight, it's time we learn how to rekindle that passion for God. But the great thing about tonight, rekindling your passion for God doesn't only work with your spiritual walk. It works in your marriage. It works in your job. It works in your family. It works in your kids. So you may be thinking, hey, my spiritual life is great, but in some other area, there may be something tonight that's going to be a life transformation moment for you. Because when we rekindle our passion, it's in every facet of our lives if we allow it to go there. And tonight we want to talk about 3 ways to do that. So my question for you is this. I don't want you to raise your hands or anything. Have you lost your passion? Have you lost your passion for your marriage? Have you lost your passion for your kids? Have you lost your passion for job? Is it now just about collecting a paycheck? Have you lost the passion, the reason why you're there at that place of employment? I'll be honest, there's things in my life where I've lost the passion. I'm tired. You do it a bunch and you just get tired of the daily grind. So it causes you to lose your passion. But if we're going to understand how to rekindle our passion, are you guys note takers? Note takers? I heard a statement one time that said note takers are history makers. Just a thought. If you want to understand how to rebuild your spiritual passion, number one, this isn't rocket science. This is very common sense for this one. You have to have passion. If you're going to understand how to rekindle your spiritual passion, you've got to understand, number one, you've got to have it. Romans 12:11 on the screen says, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual what? Fervor. Don't give up. You've got to keep your spiritual fervor excited, saying, don't let the world pull you down. You've got to stay focused on what God has called you to do. Check this out. It is when our hearts are stirred that we become the most aware of what they contain. That'll preach. It's when our hearts are stirred, we become the most aware of what they contain. Anybody heard of a guy named John Wesley? John Wesley started the entire Methodist denomination. Check this out. John Wesley preached for 65 years, rode over 225,000 miles on horseback, averaging 25 miles a day. Wrote 233 books, preached over 50,000 sermons. That's meaning he preached 2.4, I can't do math, it's that school thing, 2.4 times per day on average. Because he was passionate for God, it caused him to do things that normalcy will not allow you to do. When you have a passion for something, everybody else will tell you that's not going to work, but your passion for it will cause you to persevere through, and you will go through it and not give up. Because why? You have a passion to do it. Think about your dating days, maybe. I don't know. I met my now wife in college. We had classes together. And whenever you're in the dating days, what do? You turn on the charm. You turn on the passion. You throw her notes inside classrooms. That was before texting. Now you just text them. But you write notes and you give them to her. And after class, what do? You go to the door and you grab her hand. You walk around campus, you go out to lunch, you go out to dinner, you go to the mall with her, even though it's against your better judgment, but you do it anyway. Why? Because you have a passion that's learning to be stirred up on the inside of you for her. Whenever you have a passion for something, it will cause you to do things that you normally don't want to do. But this happens. We lose passion when we don't see the results that we want to see. That girl that we go after, she turns us down. What do? I'm out. You didn't get the result that you wanted, so you turn and go the other way. Whenever you're praying and seeking God, you don't get the results that you want, so God's not the source then. We begin to grow distant. We begin to allow our passion to decrease when we don't see, what did we say at the beginning? The chips fly. Maybe, just maybe, there was someone at your work that you were supposed to train, and they got the job that you were wanting. Caused you to lose your passion. Maybe a family member, this has happened to me, betrayed you, spoke against you, lied, made it up, caused you to lose your passion. Ask yourself, what is it that's caused me to lose my passion? What are things that have taken place in my life? And maybe today, who knows? But over the past 30, 60, 90 days, that has caused me to lose my passion for God, passion for work, passion for marriage, passion for relationships. For us to understand how to develop our spiritual passion, number one, we said what? I'm so glad you guys are listening. That makes me feel so awesome. You got to understand, number one, you have to have it. And if you understand how you have to have it, you got to understand, number two, why you lose it. Rocket scientists, understand why you have it, why you lose it. Because if you learn why you lose it, you learn how you can get it back. So you have to understand why you lose passion. Number one, why you lose passion, it becomes familiar. We call it the sin of familiarity. That thing that once was a novelty, that thing that you once held on to so tight that you love, no longer holds the same value in your eyes because it's become a natural part of your day-to-day understandings. It's familiar. We lose our passion, number two, because we lose sight of the vision. We forget what God has called us to do. We forget that our life is more than just sucking air and going to work and coming home and doing it again the next day. We lose sight of the vision. We're afraid to fail. We lose our passion because we don't want to fail. What happened? What if? What if? That was an amen if you couldn't tell. I got the interpretation of tongues. That was an amen. What if? We give up on ourselves. The third way we lose our passion, this was going to hit home. We take our cues from others. Show me your 5 closest friends. I'll show you your marriage. I'll show you your relationships. I'll show you your walk with God. You've got to learn the people, we'll get to that in a second. The people you associate yourself with, that's why this church is so important. We're going to talk about that more in a second. So if we understand how to rekindle our spiritual passion, number 1, that we've got to have it. Number 2 is that we lose it. Number 3 is how do I get my passion back? This is where we're going to spend the remainder of our evening, because this is the time when God's going to begin to stir in your heart. This is the time that we're going to allow the Holy Spirit to begin to speak to us and say, how do we rekindle that passion? We're going to teach you how tonight. The first way we rekindle that passion is you pray for God to give you passion. There's a pastor by the name of John Hagee. His mother one time said, little prayer, little power. Much prayer, much power. You want to begin to see God move in your life, you've got to become a person who prays. What is something that you were good at? Maybe you're good at golf. Maybe you're good at sports. Maybe you're good at crafting, sewing. Were you good at it when you first started? Nope, you weren't. I'll go ahead and tell you. I'm just going to bust your bubble for a second. You weren't. But what happened the more you did it? What? Oh, so maybe in our spiritual life, we have a tendency to want to give up because we don't put in the time to do what it takes to get good at it. Uh-oh, stepping on toes. I was sitting, I think I was like 8 or 9. I was sitting in the hospital in Stillwater with my dad, and we were in the waiting room. There was someone in our church who, I think they were having a baby or something. We were up there doing the hospital visitations. And me being a 9-year-old, just asking every random dumb question to my dad that I possibly could think of. I said, Dad, have there been any famous babies born in Stillwater? And obviously nobody famous has been born in Stillwater, Oklahoma, because nobody around here really cares about Oklahoma. But anyway, I said, well, has there ever been any famous babies born here? And instantaneously my dad looks at me. He said, no, only babies. You've got to develop greatness. Every one of us have to learn how to develop the greatness in our lives. We have to learn how to develop the thing, whatever it is that God has called you to do. If you want to see the spiritual life go to places you've never been, places you've never seen, it's going to take a moment of saying, I've got to learn how to develop this skill. I used to be a golfer. I used to love golf. I'm not a good golfer anymore. There was a time whenever I didn't have any bills to pay, I didn't have to work. My parents would just drop me off after school at the golf course. I didn't have any worries. I'd play golf every day. I would go to school. They would drop me off the golf course. When it got dark, they would come pick me up. I did this every day. The first time I went out and played golf, what do you think happened? This stupid game. I hate this game. And then I'd take another swing and the ball, like if I was supposed to aim it this way, I would aim that way and the ball would curve around and come over here. Any golfers? No? That big old slice? Golfers, don't even act like you're that good of a golfer. Whenever I would swing and hit the ball, it did not do what I wanted to do. But the more I did it, what happened? The more I enjoyed doing it. Why? Because I got good. I got to a point where I could take his club back and swing and know, for the most part, where that ball was going. And when I got good at it, I wanted to go play some more. And you know what else I wanted? I wanted everybody else to see me play golf. Because I knew I was good. But then I'm not any good anymore, so it doesn't matter. But at that time, I would play all the time. And the better I got, the more I wanted to do it. And the more I wanted to do it, the better I got. And the better I got, what happens? The more you want to do it. When it comes to your spiritual life. Now, here he goes again. When it comes to your spiritual life, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. And the better you get at it, the more you're going to want to do it. We don't automatically be born, have the ability to know how to do all this stuff. It has to be developed. It has to be rekindled because life takes its grind on us. So the second way we get our passion back, I spoke about it a while ago. We take our cues from others in the negative, but at the same way, we associate with people who are passionate. You associate with people who are passionate. That is why this church is so important to your spiritual life, to your family. I thoroughly believe with all my heart, I'm not trying to be braggadocious. I'm not trying to put myself up. Because my parents raised me in a church and a family that would hold me accountable, it caused me to stay on the straight and narrow path. It caused me to say, you know what? Others may, I may not. Others may go off and think this is acceptable. Not me. But it was because they said, you know what? We're making church a priority. You know, we're going to be there Sunday morning. We're going to be there Wednesday night. You know what we're going to do on vacation? We're going to find a church because most of my vacations centered around my dad preaching somewhere to church. So that's all I knew. This is what we do. This is who we are. And all of that began to develop this passion on the inside of me. Number 3, how do we get our passion back? This is the biggie. This is where we're going to spend the next 5 minutes. I'm not a long talker, but we're going to give you guys the opportunity to press into God tonight. But the third way to get your passion back is you have to connect to the proper source. You've got to connect to the proper source. John wrote in the 15th chapter, it's on the screen, it says, "Abide in me, and I in you. As the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine. Neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Whoever abides in me and I in him, he it is that bears much fruit." Check this out. "For apart from me, you can do nothing." We connect ourselves to things all the time. We connect ourselves to our jobs. We connect ourselves to our hobbies. I live right across the street from the Amarillo Gun Club. So what am I going to go do? Yeah, I'm going to go buy a gun and learn how to shoot clay pigeons. Why? Because it's something I want to connect myself to. I don't know why. It's a Texas thing. It's what you do. You connect yourself to relationships, and there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing at all being connected to things. But here's what we have to understand about being connected to things. Whenever you connect yourself to something, it now becomes a part of you, and you become a part of it. Just how John writes, or Jesus said, whenever you abide in him, what happens? He's going to abide in you. When you connect to the source that gives life, you're going to have life. When you get connected to the source that brings prosperity and health and healing, what's going to happen? It's all going to happen. Why? Because you connect yourself to the source of the one who does it. I realized at a young age, when you're connected to something that's bearing fruit, you want to be a part of it. When you disconnect yourself from something that's bearing fruit, what happens? It takes away your joy. It takes away your fulfillment. It takes away peace. It takes away all of these other areas that we don't understand even why they're gone, but it's because we have disconnected ourselves from something that at one time was allowing all those things to come to fruition. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. Look at your Dallas Cowboys. Really? I thought we were in Texas? Okay. How about, well, we're going to go with them anyway because that's the only team I know. You got the Dallas Cowboys. They had some years where it was kind of some bad seasons or whatnot. What happened this last year? They won a game, and people were like, that was an accident. They got lucky. It's all right. No big deal. They won the next game. Then they won the next game. And then that guy who was a fan 13 years ago, that's my team. Yeah! No, that ain't their team. But because they were winning, what happened? He wanted to be a part of something that's winning. He wanted to be a part of the winning team. It stinks being a part of Oklahoma State. We're going to lose every time. And I know that. But we're going to find a team that's a winning team. And we want to be a part of a winning team. When you connect yourself to somebody who's winning, guess what's going to happen? You're good. You guys are getting this. Man, you're going to win. If you connect yourselves to the bar, you're going to begin to produce the fruit of what the bar has to offer. If you connect yourselves to movies that have questionable content, that one got quiet real quick. You begin to bear the fruit of what that questionable content will allow. Act like this is my Bible. Jesus said it, abide in me and I in him. Whenever you connect to something, it's going to become a part of you. So maybe we're seeing some fruit in our lives that we don't necessarily want to see. And we don't understand why it's there. It's been because we've connected to something that's allowed that fruit to be produced. Because when you connect yourselves to the right thing, the right fruit's going to be produced. When you connect yourselves to other elements, the wrong fruit will be produced. So if you want to be passionate about God, you have to be intentional and strategic about what we connect ourselves to. The worship team's about to come out here in just a minute or so. We're going to look at it this way. A tree, we're going to call that the substance, is planted in what? The ground. We're going to call that the source. When you take a tree and you uproot it from the ground, what happens? The tree dies. Does it die immediately? No. Why? There's still a little bit of life in there. But the longer you allow it to sit out, what happens? The tree dies. Think of yourself as that tree. Whenever you come to church, what are you doing? You're planting yourself. When you say, you know what, I can go to church every couple of weeks, I'm good. Nope. You unplant yourself and you have a little bit of life left in you. Can you function in the same capacity as a dead tree producing fruit? No. So when you take the substance, the tree, from the source, the ground, the substance dies every single time. Maybe we can take this another level. Any fishermen in here? If you fish, what happens when you take the fish out of the water? It flaps and dies. You take the fish, the substance, away from the source, the water, and the fish can no longer do what it was created to do because you've taken the substance from the source. They're getting it. They don't let me touch the piano over here, but let's just use this piano as an example. He's already saying, don't touch my piano. Let's imagine I were to unplug this piano. Could it do what she's doing now? Why not? It's still the keyboard. Everything is there. The source. It's no longer connected to the source that gives it the power to be able to function in the capacity of which the keyboard was designed to function in. Apply that to your spiritual life. Can you function without being connected to your source? No. You cannot function the way that you were designed and created to function unless you get connected to the source or the one who is the one who designed and created you to begin with. The tree, when it's disconnected from the source, dies. When you disconnect yourself from the source, you wither up and die. Your spirit man gives up. And you grow cold. and you lose your passion for God, you bear the fruit of the element of which you are connected to. We come to church. We connect ourselves to Jesus. We come to church, we connect ourselves with other people who are going in the same direction that God has called us to do. You go to church, you say, Lord, here I am. Here am I. Many of you think you go to your job to collect a paycheck. But let me tell you something. You're there in very, very strategic and intentional. God has placed you there to be a person that says, I will not compromise. I will show all these people around me that Christ is in me. I can tell you this. If the people that are closest to you don't know where you go to church, they don't know that you're a Christian, I'm going to be real hard on you for a second. You've lost your passion for God. Because whenever something is inside of you, you tell everybody about it. When you're so passionate about something, it doesn't matter what it is, you're going to find a way to bring it up in conversation. They'll be talking about cooking, you'll be like, hey, about church. Or whatever your excitement is, you'll be like, oh, check out that guitar. Have you seen my golf clubs? Whatever, you will find a way to bring up something that you're passionate about. How many of you can honestly say, don't raise your hands, I've lost my passion. I've lost sight of the source that I once connected myself to because it just didn't pan out the way I thought it was going to. So I pulled myself away. We've all been there. There's been seasons and times in my life where it seemed that God was nowhere near. But you've got to rekindle that passion. You say, Pastor, how do I rekindle that passion? Let's all stand to our feet. I'm going to show you how. Worshiped God. So here's what we're going to do. They're going to sing a little bit. I don't want you to sing a thing. Because how do we rekindle our passion? Number one, we got to pray for God to give us a passion back. We've got to associate with people who are passionate, and we've got to connect to the source. So right now, in your seat, standing up, close your eyes and begin to pray. Say, God, make me passionate for you. Give me a burning desire on the inside of me that nothing can put out. Lord, do something in my heart. Do something in my body. Do something in my mind to stir up a passion that causes me to do the unthinkable, that causes me to step out whenever I don't think I can step out. Lord, renew a steadfast spirit in me. Begin to renew that spirit that once raised me out from dead, that gave me life. Begin to stir it up in me tonight, Holy Spirit. Create in me a clean and pure heart, God. Give me a passion for what breaks yours. Lord, if you called me to be someone who's supposed to be a soul winner, allow that passion to be stirred up on the inside of me for souls. If you caused me to be a business owner, allow that passion to get stirred up on the inside. If you caused me to give financially like no one has ever given, begin to stir that up on the inside of me. If you caused me to be a group leader, a team leader, whatever it is, God, stir it up on the inside of me. Stir it up, Holy Spirit. Stir it up, Holy Spirit.